crumbles, ghosts they roam. Silent streets echo death, there's no home. Empty eyes watch dreams decay. Shattered souls in twilight's gray. Clockwork cities grind to dust. Ashes whisper tales of lost trust. Metallic winds they cut through bone. Hero rises, stands alone. Face the storm, rage and thunder. Rod against the dark, they will plunder. Swords clashing, flows like rain. Ashes whisper heroes' pain. Koto strings cry through the night. Taiko drums pulse wars, force fright. Visions fade but strength remains. Lonely hero breaks the chains. Shadows dance under blood red sky. Ancient spirits, they don't lie. Destiny calls, heart ignites. Courage born in darkest nights. Face the storm, rage and thunder. Wide against the dark, they will plunder. Swords clashing, flows like rain. Ashes whisper heroes' pain. Crumbles, ghosts they roam. Silent streets echo death, there's no home. Empty eyes watch dreams decay. Shattered souls in twilight's gray. Face the storm, rage and thunder. Wide against the dark, they will plunder. Swords clashing, flows like rain. Ashes whisper heroes' pain.
Oh, wait a minute here. What's going on here? Something broke. Oh my God. Really? I just had this fixed. Well, how's it going, everybody? It's Kai, and we are back on the Dragon's Lair, and I had this all fixed earlier, and this was all supposed to work correctly. Something's not going right with Streamlabs. Yeah, it took away my sources. That's interesting. Let me try this one. There we go. Yeah, we're back. Heyo! Welcome back to the Dragon's Lair. I'm your host, Kai, and we got so much gaming news to talk about today. Hey, it's got to be excited now. We got to be excited about it. We are back. I've been waiting to do this for a while and been trying to figure out the right time to get back into talking about news other than videos, and here we are. Oh, holy crap. We've got a lot in the news this week. I mean, I was feeling like I was like drowning when I was reading all these articles. And let's be real. Let's be real. There is some crazy stuff going on in Crazy Town, and that train's already sailed, or not sailed, rolled away. All right. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the madness of the gaming world. Well, the latest news is really interesting because Xbox has just raised the price of their Game Pass by 50%. So what does that really tell? Everything's been going up. It's time for them to get some more money and people are going to pay for it. But there has been conversation that people are not subscribing to the Game Pass because of the price hike. We'll see how long that lasts. I mean, you get all these different games and stuff. And they also, I think they offered something where now you can have an interactive where you watch ads on the Xbox Game Pass. As if we need any more ads, because we drown in ads on everything we see. We tried to escape ads by going to the internet, but look what happened. We dive right back into the world of ads everywhere we go. And it's funny, even AI generated ads now. It's really crazy. But a lot of speculation of why they're doing this, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. In 2025, this has been a very tumultuous year in the gaming industry. Gaming companies have been acquired and profits aren't doing as good. Quality of games is down. We've got conflicts all over the place. Like, for example, we've got Collective Shout that basically went after Steam, and then Steam ignored them, and Visa and MasterCard got involved because all that. So now we're having the good old-fashioned censorship wars going on with Steam. And that has hurt indie developers as well as other companies that do adult games. So there's a lot of different stuff going on this year that has been really impacting the gaming industry as a whole. And for example, EA, they haven't really released anything spectacular. They've got Battlefield 6 coming out, but really, it's just a repeat. A lot of people that are going to play Battlefield 6 are the same ones that play the Call of Duties and, you know, all the other games that come out by EA, Activision, all those. I mean, you're pretty much going to have your stable base, but your new growth market industry has just not been there. I know I checked out on Battlefield 2, I think it was, Bad Company. After that, it was freaking crazy. And also Dragon Guard, and yes, you're correct, Chaos. Dragon Guard, Veilguard was a massive flop, massive crush to BioWare, which was obviously ran by a lot of poor decisions, poor story, poor writing, all in all general poor across the board. And it was, I do recall, and I'm going to fact check this here for a second. It has to do with Dragon Age Veilguard, and I need to exactly get who said that. And this is going to kind of piece things out a little bit more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this little bit of discussion here before we cover a lot of this. So this is an old article. This was on Gamer Rant. This was back in February 5th, 2025. And this we're going back in time, blast from the past, because why not? Let's talk about this a little bit more. So Dragon Age Veilguard, EA has implied that the game would have performed better as a live service title. So completely out of touch. Completely out of touch. And during a recent financial call, EA CEO Andrew Wilson offered some comments regarding the Veilguard's less than stellar sales, implying that a live service approach may have led to more success for the recent BioWare RPG. In order to break beyond the core audience, game needs to directly connect to evolving demands of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. Completely out of touch. Completely out of touch. Most people don't want live services. Most people just want to load the game up, play it, and be done with it. I don't know anybody that's screaming, "Oh my God, we got to have live services. We got to have all the live services in the world." No, most of us could care less about live services. I mean, sure, it's nice to have some updates here and there, but I don't need to play online with people. I don't feel the need to have to play online with people all the time. I don't need to have something that I have to have a 24/7 online connection to play it. What if I want to play it somewhere that doesn't have good internet, or maybe you're playing it, let's say on a flight overseas or something, and you've got 10 hours, you don't have internet or anything, so you're gonna probably just play it on your laptop or whatever. That's the problem with a lot of this. Is a kind of a stepping stone to kind of lead us to today's topic with EA. EA has not been a very successful, but they have stayed out of the limelight, unlike Ubisoft and other companies, for quite a while. And I guess they had to jump in a little bit on this, and I have no idea why they decided they were going to do this, but let's get a little bit of music on here while we get this going here. Make sure it's not too terribly loud. Okay, let's turn that on here, because why not? Let's have just a little bit of music going on while we're doing this. Now, if it's too loud, let me know as we discuss more about this. So as you go down here, they talk about how they had large success in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order when they did live services, blah, 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 blah. This is an old article. I'm just using it to kind of establish the start to this whole thing. EA really hasn't done good in a long time. It's been quiet compared to Ubisoft. Ubisoft has constantly made blunders to the point Tencent's got involved, and they have a whole new division at Ubisoft for a lot of those titles. In fact, we'll probably touch a little bit about that. Well, here's the thing with gaming. AAA publishers aren't the end-all be-all. They just have a lot more money backing them up, and they're expected to be the flagships that carry the gaming industry. Well, AAA has not really been the flagship for the gaming industry for a long time. It's mostly your indie developers. Let's point in case Palworld. Yes, somebody says, "Oh my God, it's a Pokemon clone." Palworld was an indie company. Palworld did something that Pokemon and all those never did. It became extremely popular. It's made a crap ton of money. They're already working on a new game called Pal Farm, which is still taking their pals, and it's more of a kind of a cozy type game, kind of like your Stardew Valleys and stuff. So we'll see how that all plays out. But a lot of these AAAs just don't have the vision anymore. It's just like a number at this point. And this, in my opinion, has led to EA's stagnation and they're constant bait and switches, like Anthem. You saw Anthem was supposed to have all this badass stuff with the trailers and the spotlights and flashiness. Look what happened with it. You got hardly anything with it. It was nothing like the trailer, and then they shut down. That's how it goes. Will this change? I have no idea, but EA's $55 billion acquisition is the biggest leverage buyout in private equity history, and people are worried about it. Well, first of all, private equities, let's establish history on this. Private equities are companies that don't have to report to shareholders. Their equity company can consist of 5-6 guys. It can consist of a couple people. there's a lot of different things that private equities do. A lot of times they buy a business, they will either slice and dice it up and make julienne fries with it, and then sell it in little bitty pieces here and there. So you may have BioWare sent here. It's really, really hard to say what will happen at a private equity. The big thing, though, is they're going to want their return on this $55 billion. So they're not going to want to make garbage. Surprisingly, they kept Andrew Wilson as CEO of the company, which that right there kind of made me question what's going to happen there, especially the situation that, he wants more live services. So we could see more live services. We could also see a lot more cash shops. You may see a lot of gotcha stuff, or the surprise mechanics that their lawyers called it, Kinder eggs. You never know. The other thing is EA lost their contract a while back for FIFA. So that was their biggest cash cow. That was their biggest cash grab. They had all those cash shops and all that stuff to make a whole ton of money. And they don't have that anymore. They also did not have the exclusive rights to Lucas Star Wars anymore. You had Ubisoft with their Star Wars game that came out. EA has been taking a substantial nosedive. This private equity firm is a group of investors that are owned by a group consisting of Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. And if the deal earns shareholder and regular approval, it'll be a large spot in history. Yeah, this went through, as they were saying. Now they're worried about why this buyout is dire. One of the things about it is they are going to probably downsize, restructure. They're probably going to liquidate a lot more departments that they don't fill. So yes, that's probably going to take a massive hit. One of the biggest fears is that a lot of it is going to be layoffs and monetization schemes, which I can see that happening. And this could be crazy. So for example, like Chaos Queen mentioned, The Sims, you might see even more cash shops, even more madness with Sims 4. And we'll go ahead and scroll down a little bit further here. At the most basic level, and this is, they're talking about private equity firm is an investment management firm that raises money from different sources and uses combined capital to buy companies. And a lot of times they hold these for a while to sell them off, restructure them, make them what they want it to be. And I have heard that they have already, a lot of the writings on the wall at EA and a lot of comments on X have been angry at gamers for not supporting EA as much. Well, the problem with this is, if you don't have a good product and you're just trying to milk everybody for money, what ends up happening is you run into this problem where the cash cows run dry. I mean, perfect example that we have today is there's a gentleman, BSP. He gets mad and throws a fit if he doesn't get paid every day he streams. And a great example of that is maybe the people that he gets support from don't have the money anymore because things are getting tighter. So he tries to press them. This is an example of the reason why I say this. This is an example of what's happening in the gaming industry. Is you see a lot of companies pressing people for even more money, and it's leading to, well, do I want to have meals on the table? Do I want to pay rent, or do I want to buy a game? Gaming was a luxury years ago. Gaming got intertwined, ingrained into how we act and what we do in society. It became an esport. There was a lot of fantastic publicity with it all. The downside with that is once economies changed, once COVID kind of went away and people weren't locked, world kind of resumed the way it was. So there was less money going out there, and if it wasn't a good product, people just didn't buy it. So they're talking about the goal. The private equity is to optimize the bought out company's performance for long-term returns, tapping underutilized potential like EA's mobile business to increase profits. This goes back to, yes, they're going to probably focus a lot more on phone games, more money for cash shops, maybe even have more surprise mechanics with gambling and stuff. There's going to be a massive change to it. I think EA, as people know it, is probably, it's saying it, done. And that's kind of frightening when you think about that, because there was a lot of beloved franchises in that series. Dragon Age was a good franchise in its early years. BioWare was known back in the day for producing top-notch RPGs. And this is one of the major problems that we're going to look into in the future with gaming. It's not it's a luxury now. And as the prices go up, they want 80, 90, 100. They're talking about GTA 6 being over $100 just for the base game. And that's going to set the whole new market level where everybody's going to start pricing up here. You're going to drown yourself out of business. I mean, look at it this way. Energy keeps going up. Food keeps going up. Things haven't slowed down on inflation. Costs of games have went up, but the thing is, a lot of these companies have too much bloat. When you see a lot of these smaller indie development companies surpassing with smaller numbers, Claire Expedition 33, for example, a stellar game. I watched a lot of people play that. I haven't got a chance to play it because that's kind of not been in my niche for YouTube and streaming and stuff. But it was an indie development company that was a small studio that made a great RPG. Already working on, I guess, a sequel to it or a prequel or something. That is really fantastic, in my opinion. You don't need all this bloat. Reason why Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadow was so much money. You had departments for departments for departments. Hell, probably the coffee runners at Ubisoft had a department with a department. And that was just so much expenses. You don't need that many people like you used to develop a game, and the cost of hiring these people is very expensive. You got to think about it. Programmers are not cheap. Artists are not cheap. If you look at the VTubing, you look at just buying art on X, it's not cheap. Cost of everything is relative. And that's a big thing. And hello, Blazing. Hello, Ivan. Wanted to make sure we go through my tangents and stuff when we're going through these news. Could you see EA make a comeback? Yes. I could see it. I know that there's been a lot of people celebrating this purchase. I myself am just very cautious because of what I know about private equity companies when it comes to businesses. It's not something I'm quite thrilled about, but I'm not thrilled about SEC public shareholding with shareholders where everybody's focused on due diligence to the shareholders. And you're absolutely correct. It's not cheap. Basic 2D avatar will cost 1,500. Yeah, you can sometimes get it cheaper, but it just depends. It really does. Now, AI is coming into play on some stuff, but AI is still in the infancy. It will never replace human ingenuity. It will help human ingenuity, but it will never replace it. And that's the one thing people need to understand when it comes to AI. So yes, EA could go all in on AI. It's still not going to be, it's not going to be good. But this article continues to talk about how the assets will be sold, driving a company further into debt, sale back. There's a lot of things that will happen. It is very possible that EA will be, you know, split up into multiple little divisions, become its own companies, and then be sold off to the highest bidder. It is very much possibility. That's what a lot of private equity companies do. But as you can see, Ubisoft they're not bought by private equity, but they had to create a whole special department because they're not doing well with Tencent mostly at the helm. So there is a lot of change in AAA gaming, and I think a lot of it is bloat. I think you have too much staff. I think you don't have the ingenuity you used to have. I think people are more cautious about trying to go outside the box to build games. And then you get games like Claire Expedition or Power World that come out, and then they hit a home run, and people are just sitting there like, huh? Baldur's Gate 3 was a title that people were familiar with, but it was the studio itself that made Baldur's Gate 3 a success. If you gave Baldur's Gate 3 to EA's BioWare to make, or you gave it to Ubisoft, it would have been a massive flop, which is what's probably going to happen with Baldur's Gate 4 if they don't have a good development company that's going to run it. And that's just the nature of the beast. You got to have passion for the games, and it's interesting to see this happen. You might see BioWare owned by Microsoft. Who the hell knows? But we got more Microsoft news to talk about today. Then there comes the other thing that they're saying that they think that EA will have to change how they do things because of you know, they'll have to get rid of quote unquote woke and all this stuff. I don't know. I'm not really sold on any of that, but yeah, they talked about pretty much a lot of the stuff's getting owned. They're talking about PIF's involvement. EA by a spark concern of Saudi's ownership will leave EA games like Sims. The fans have made a haven for, you know, representation, diversity. They're worried about all that being removed in Sims. That's what a lot of them are worried about it. But Andrew Wilson, of course, is saying that values and their commitments to players and fans around the world remain unchanged. It's hard to say. It's hard to say how that goes. We'll see how it all plays out. And we'll flip over to this one. So this expert's saying industry isn't dying, it's split into two different models. I beg to disagree with that. I think the gaming industry, as it's been in the last 20 years, is fading. I think the consumers have had enough. I think the times have changed. I think people want something better, and they're going to go where it's better and also get their bang for their buck. The days of going to buy an $80-$100 game that just comes right out on day one, you're still going to see the people that have the fear of missing out. They're going to willing to pull out their credit card, go deeper in debt or whatever for it. But realistically, the days of simply buying a game that comes out just isn't happening. It's going to become that luxury again, and you're going to choose. And Safa says, I can't say that their values commit to players was especially great. So being unchanged, it's 100%. That's I just don't think that's something that I agree with when they say that. An $80-$100 game? You mean one semester at college? Yeah, probably. Hell, I haven't been to college anymore. And you're right, Ivan. Consumer's not a fool. It's like in the days where people were buying pre-orders 24/7 each game. That happens less now because people don't like when the pre-order comes out and you have to have 3 days of patches or the servers malfunction or whatever. They say that EA generates about 7.5 annually from their franchises like Apex, Battlefield, FIFA, now EA Sports FC. And then as you can see, this is kind of their top EA games by revenue. Sims 4 is there. I don't think they're going to touch Sims 4 much, but this was a performance between the August 2024 and August 2025. I think the sports is still going to be there. But yes, there's going to be consolidation, layoffs, studio closures, and that's the 2020s industry. There's, as big companies scoop up the little ones, they're going to absorb them into other areas. And basically this guy's saying that you're going to see more growth in AA studios and indie developers, and that's where the whole trend's going to be, where players are going to need serious capital to compete. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we're going to go back to a time where it doesn't cost as much as you think to make a game if there's a staff of 10 versus a staff at, let's say, a project. Let's just make an example here. If I have a project and I'm doing Dragon Age 7 or whatever, let's just call it that. I have a studio of, let's say, 300 people, 400 people. Let's say average salary is 80,000 to 180,000. Let's just say that a year. Project takes 3 to 4 years. You're not developing the game right out. You're not selling the game right out the gate, so you have no income. So you're basically borrowing money on it. Indie developers, let's just say 4 or 5 guys get together and they have a great dream, or even some guys by themselves have a great dream. And they have an idea, they work on it the first year or two, they sell it on Steam at a lower price, and they constantly work at it, and it turns out it gets really popular. Then they hire more people to help sustain that, and then they continue to build the product, and then eventually they get to the point that this product's complete, they'll move to the next one as long as the success is there. Yeah. The quality, I don't think, will drop if it's structured properly. And Ivan points out again, Expedition 33, 32 people in a dog made make a successful game. Yeah, you had a very, very good game. You just have to have a good vision, good leadership, and you have to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to accomplish it. But yes, you're going to see a lot more indies and AA games popping out of there, studios popping out. And I think that's the future. As I have said before, I believe indie is the future in gaming because they're not afraid a lot of times to think outside the box. The limitation is the engine and maybe the amount of time that they work, but I am a big supporter of indies when it comes to this. So I think this is potentially a better thing, seeing AAA slowly fizzling out. And we'll talk a little bit more on my thoughts on that. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for growth for people. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for people to take charge. There's going to be a lot of opportunities out there in the gaming industry that isn't EA, Ubisoft, Microsoft. You're going to have to, the problem is you're going to have some more startup costs maybe, but you don't have to go to the bank and borrow $1 million. That's the thing. I know people right now that are indie devs of studios of one that are working on it. Let's see. Blazin says the delegate is key. Why they don't divide in 4. The game dev expedition 33 has already proven a good game. Does not require too many people to make, too many ideas, and division of choice direction in the game. Well, the game development studios of Expedition 33 has also said they have no intentions to expand, increase their numbers, or anything. They're happy with their studio as is, and they believe they can continue to make top tier games. You're just going to have smaller studios, more games coming out, which is a good thing. I want to see more games come up. I want to see more innovation. I want to see competition. I want to see somebody come up with something very similar to Kenshi, indie developer game, and make something great with something similar to that, with maybe something like Mountain Blade. Take those elements together, put it together, and see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. It's just a matter of how you go about it. But yes, as far as at the end, I agree with him. Says the industry isn't dying, and the relevance for gaming splitting up and more games and more opportunities. Yes, I do see AAA studios collapsing now. It's inevitable, and we'll talk more about that because the money's just not there like it used to be. And yes, I do remember that, Ivan. The original days of Xbox, PS2, so many games, so many games, so many game developments, all sorts of games. Hell, I love the Twisted Metal franchise back in the day. I don't even remember who did that. I don't even know if it's a big company now. I just remember it as a kid. Those were good times. But they are concerned about the future of Battlefield, Sims, Apex Legends, Mass Effects, and Dragon Age because they're not sure about the IPs, but they are more certain that EA is going to be focused pretty much on sports. EA's always been focused on sports, and with like Saudi Arabia owning WWE, I believe that's what it is, I could easily see them basically pulling the rights of where... Hold on here. I think it's Take-Two that has WWE right now. Let me see. I want to look at Steam real fast. Who is the publisher? I think it's Take-Two. Hold on. Let me double check that. I think it's Take-Two. Or 2K. Okay. Not Take-Two, 2K. All right, so yeah. Let's go back here. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So on Steam here, it's 2K games. I could see them pulling the contract from 2K and giving it strictly to EA for sports, because since they own the WWE, and now they have EA, they could foreseeably move like WWE into that role too. There's, I think there's Madden. Let me look this up. Mixed reviews on it, but they're still selling it at $70. And Blaze says this is a problem with games with a big team on, so they should have make a parent company and split the studio into 4. Yes, that's 100% true. Let's flip over here and so I'm curious to what you guys think. So let's talk a little bit more about this in discussion. What do you think? Is EA toast? Is EA going to be split into dozens of different mini companies and sold? Or do you think that they might be able to revitalize the gaming industry with EA? Or do you think it's going to get worse on predatory purchases? definitely let me know what you guys think on that, because I'm curious. And I'll give you guys a second to type real fast before we move on to the next one. And I'm glad you guys could attend tonight's new show. It was something that I've been wanting to get back to, as I love this dialogue. I love discussing this stuff. I have been trying to get into the know with some of these companies too, so I could talk a little bit with them myself, but in due time, in due time. Ivan thinks 3-path of EA bought by someone, huge reform, or F off. Ooh, that's a good point. Blazing has said that gambling's illegal in Saudi, but Silver Lake, that's just it though. Do they consider surprise mechanics like EA has, the Kinder Egg, as their lawyers called it? Is that considered gambling though? I mean, technically it is, and a lot of, I think Belgium and a few others ruled that it was gambling, but is it gambling really? I'm just thinking, just going by that standards. It's hard to say though. And they may go more with models similar to like Genshin Impact and stuff. We don't know. I do see though opportunities for other companies to buy the rights to things like Dragon Age, Mass Effect. I do see that opportunity. I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss. It's one of those things that I don't know. It may be a great time in the sun, and it could be one just a nightmare. Yeah, Belgium was the one that ruled out that it was gambling, and EA was the one that said, but no, it's surprise mechanics. It's like Kinder Eggs. Dumbest take by that lawyer, by the way. I'm like, okay, it's not Kinder Eggs. Man, the hits keep coming though. And Blaze says there's gotcha, but they don't count as gambling, similar to the pachinko parlors. And yeah, that is a good point too, Ivan. And so yeah, we'll see what happens on that. All right, so moving on to our next article. This one pissed a lot of people off. I was like, holy crap. We got some really interesting stuff going on here. I guess they apparently went up 50% on their price hike with the Game Pass to $30 a month to get day one access. Oof. That's painful. So apparently this pissed a lot of people off. I've heard rumors that there's a lot of people unsubscribing to Game Pass right now. I see them coming back to it. Most people are going to be mad for a little bit, and then they'll come back and say, well, this still allows me to get any type of game I want to play, basically. And they're splitting up different plans here. So Ultimate's getting some upgrades. They'll have EA Play, which previously included Ubisoft Plus Classics. Fortnite Crew is now part of the monthly subscription. They also have access to unlimited cloud gaming, which who cares about that? Microsoft's adding 45 titles to their Ultimate tier. So yeah, that's what they're trying to say. Oh, hey guys, this is why you want to do this. And then they're showing that there's no change for their premium pass. So they're still showing what's available there. And then let's see, I think there was one more. Essentials will offer unlimited cloud gaming, online multiplayer game benefits, and a curated catalog of 50 games playable on console and PC for $10. I also heard somewhere that they're doing ads on one of these. I didn't get that article. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the lowest tier they were going to start at putting ads, but I don't have the article. I accidentally closed all my tabs earlier, but when I was getting ready for this, I was like, are you shitting me? But let me take a look here. Let me see if that's really the case. I want to see if that's really true, because okay. Yes, this was true. I was not asleep when I read that. Okay. Here we go. This is on Games Radar. Microsoft continues reading anything but the room with a full page Xbox Game Pass advertisement on console startup a day after hiking. Okay, yeah. So so Microsoft has determined that they're going to continue to ignore everybody. It's Microsoft. They don't have to listen to anybody. They're a $1 trillion company. They could tank their whole Xbox and just have it as a tax write-off. No more charities. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that, but it's like, that's, you know, they're at the whole who cares anymore stage. They've made the infinite money glitch happen for them. But starting November 4th, subscription price will update in applicable regions, blah blah blah. Okay, so this may be Microsoft's way of meaning some obligation to inform users of price and services, but in the case the presentation is tone is deaf. The ad list, what's new, including Ubisoft Classics, Fortnite, 75 days, stream games best quality, play and earn up to 100,000 reward points per year. And let's see, there's somewhere they're talking about that one. Go down here. Oh. Okay, where is the one that they're talking about ads? Did I miss that? Okay, that's it right here. I knew I saw this. I saw it on X. That's why I was trying to figure out where it was. Reports of a noxious startup advertisement has emerged on social media. I booted my Xbox Series X to confirm. Sure enough, the first thing you'll see when you load your console is the bold declaration that you can get even more with Ultimate, the priciest, most feature Xbox Game Pass. Okay, so it's not true advertisements. They're just pissed that they're trying to really push this $30 crap on you. Okay, that makes more sense. I saw that in X, that's why I wanted to pull this up a little bit more. And people are saying cancel now on Xbox. It's funny that Microsoft's trying to justify why you should pay them $30 a month. I don't think anything's worth $30 a month in any type of rental platform. I mean, even the streaming service you have, HBO Max, Disney Plus, all those, I don't think even that for entertainment, $30 a month, hell no. It's pretty damn wild when you think about it. The reason why there's speculation of why they're doing this is they're losing money. You got to think about this. They bought Bethesda, ZeniMax. They bought Blizzard Activision. And that was pretty costly for that $1 trillion company. I mean, that's a lot of money that they put up front. And if you look at it, I haven't really seen much come out of Bethesda, for example, other than Starslop, which, as we all know, is pretty much a game that flew too close to the sun, literally, and melted after about a month. Yeah, that's $360 a year just to pay for the Xbox Game Pass. That's a lot of money. So, in this article, and this is on PC Gamer, Microsoft is laying off thousands, which I have seen that layoffs are getting pretty high in the industry in general. The former FTC chair says, "I told you so. The Activision Blizzard buyout is harming both gamers and developers." And I'll be honest, I kind of agree with her. They spent a fortune on it, and I don't think they're getting quite the return on Blizzard Activision that realistically Microsoft was expecting. And I feel like the former CEO of Blizzard Activision was laughing madly all the way to the bank as he cashed out on that. I mean, there really isn't anything that's really making Blizzard Activision stand out. Now, granted, you're not seeing them make fools of themselves on news like they were for quite a while, which is a great thing. But why would you buy Blizzard Activision thinking that was a good idea? Same with Bethesda. Bethesda had some good hits: Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim, and there's a few others there. I mean, ZeniMax had a few decent ones, but it boggles my mind that Microsoft thought it would be a good idea to start buying these companies when they weren't doing the greatest themselves. So I don't know. I think Microsoft's trying to, I agree with her when I think Microsoft's trying to make up their lost money with the layoffs and trying to charge more. And Lena Khan said Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been followed by significant price hikes, layoffs, harming both gamers and developers. Yeah. And this was not too far back where Xbox announced that they were going to raise the prices of their consoles, which is something unheard of. But that was also based on things like Nintendo Switch raised their prices twice. First one was who the hell knows. The second one they're blaming on tariffs, but it's went up. Nintendo Switch 1 has went up. I think them buying these large companies has really screwed them up. And a lot of IPs are getting lost, just locked in a vault at Microsoft that people will never see again. But here's kind of some startling numbers here. Microsoft laid off 1,900 workers at Blizzard Activision, canceled the studio's long-awaited survival game, which I did see that one, and it looked neat. In September 2024, they laid off 650 more, and then followed by 9,000 across Microsoft in 2025. They saw a lot more game cancellations, closure initiative, and impacts to other studios. But granted, Phil Spencer's gonna blow smoke up your ass and say the gaming business never looked stronger. So I mean, of course he's gonna say that. That's his job. He's trying to do damage control. He's gonna come out with the PR and say, "Oh, it's just the greatest it's ever been. You should be a part of it." No, yeah. Let's be real here. They aren't telling you the truth on that. And if you believe anything old Phil says, I got a tropical island to sell you in Missouri. I'm just saying, like, come on now. I don't know. And then of course they had to rub in the salt saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, Game Pass went up." So my question is, do you think this is going to be a continued trend with these AAA companies, especially with Microsoft? I mean, Blizzard Activision was AAA, ZeniMax was AAA, Bethesda, which is part of ZeniMax and all that, was AAA. I mean, I think they're in a downward spiral, guys. I don't see how they can bounce back. Granted, it's $1 trillion company, and we just phased out Microsoft 10. They're probably going to have Microsoft Windows 12, and you'll have to buy it and upgrade it by next year or some bullshit. I can see that happening. As you know, that's how we just keep making money. Them making money is making us buy new Windows products. But any thoughts or comments on this while we're wrapping up this segment? I don't know. We got one more news article I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. We got some more articles, but this one is one I'm going to say is probably bad news bears kind of thing. And it's kind of weird, but I've been seeing a lot of games fall off Steam lately. And I've been kind of concerned about that. But this is something that I saw a couple weeks ago, and this was on X. Steam is blocking adult games from updating, says developer. And in the latest hit to adult games, which has been under fire by Microsoft or MasterCard and Visa, because the whole collective shout whining to Visa and MasterCard basically about all this. There's like millions of YouTube videos on it, millions of X posts about all that. I'm not going to go into full details on it. That news has kind of sailed, but they see that like a lot of them cannot update their games, but they're not allowing any more posts not safe for work content to be updated to their game. And they mentioned that they're still able to do DLCs, but they're in some weird limbo ever since all this, because they're even saying like games like Baldur's Gate 3 would never be able to release any more romance updates because of the whole change to Steam. And they can still release not safe for work DLCs, but yeah, they can't update it. And then it just shows it's all pointing to your beloved Visa, PayPal, and MasterCard. Which, in my opinion, when it comes to the payment processors should shut up and just pay. If a person has it on their debit card or a person has it on their credit card and it's not breaking laws, just freaking pay it. I mean, I feel like consumers should have the right to sue Visa and MasterCard for rejecting payments and, going after stuff, because, there needs to be some laws changed where if you're going to be a payment processor, you shut up and just pay, unless it's something that's quote unquote an illegal activity, which, that's different. If a person wants to pay for a damn adult game, or people want to buy manga or hentai or whatever, that is their God-given right. And I don't think payment processors should be the end all be all arbiters of morality, when they are not the moral police. I mean, let's just say that they do some pretty crappy stuff too. And I don't know. I've wanted to talk about this for a while, but I didn't do a video on Visa MasterCard because just everybody's talked about it so much. I just think this is absolute crap. But what do you guys think? Is the gaming industry gonna get worse, especially as Steam is, with Gabe getting older, nobody knows what's going to happen to Steam, when Gabe finally retires or sells it or whatever. I mean, people have been trying to buy Steam for the longest time, and that's freaking scary. And yeah, I heard about Blazing. I heard about the Discord thing where people's information got compromised. That's crazy. And the problem with that is we knew, and we've called it out on X, we've said it 1,000 times over and over, the less you have of ID, the less you have out there, the better you are, because there is no system that is 100% safe And if they also don't invest strongly in internet security, data is going to get compromised. And of course, they're going to have T's and C's to cover their ass so they don't get sued. That's just a given. They ain't gonna want to do that. And Ivan says, if they don't get worse, how would they change if they don't feel pain? Yeah. And yeah, that's true. That's true on the Roblox thing, Blazing. Although I don't talk much about that just because I know that one is a touchy subject on YouTube. So I leave that one I will not talk about at all. I have lots of opinions about that, but none that I will actually share on YouTube. Maybe on a kick stream or something, but no, definitely won't share it on there on YouTube. So it's very I think the gaming industry really is in a rocky situation and hit from all sides. And then they try to turn around and hit the consumers. I think you're going to see a lot of, I think in the next 2-3 years, you're going to see a lot of shifting tides when it comes to the gaming industry. I'm hoping also that payment processors get legislation thrown at them where they have to eat humble pie for once in their damn life and stop lying on X about saying, well, we're not a reason for it. And then Steam goes, dude, you're lying. You're the reason why we're changing our practices. Steam has literally called them out on X. It's basically saying, no, it's your practices that told us we had to do this, or you were going to pull allowing Visa and MasterCard to buy anything on our site. So yeah. Yeah, you know, it's like, come on now. It's really stupid. It's really stupid. But to go back to the thing that Blazing was talking about briefly with the Discord, when we're going more into mandatory digital IDs everywhere, we're going into information. These companies that are quote unquote requiring it need to have better security. I remember the disaster because I was one of them that got hit by Equifax when they had that massive hack and then they didn't tell anybody right away. I remember that. I was so pissed off because I've spent my whole life being as careful, everything. And then literally the credit company that monitors your credit literally lets them get a hold of stuff. And then they pulled the old BP style thing from South Park going, sorry, we're so sorry. And everybody that was going to get anything is like, oh, well, we'll pay for this life security thing for a year, or we'll give you $5 or $100 or something. I think it was like $5 at that point. Like, okay, the real winners were the lawyers. The losers was everybody else that got compromised and nothing ever happened. If anything, that company should have been liquidated and all assets sold, and they should have went broke. And anybody that tried to cover it up should have been in jail. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm harsher on that, but I think they did more harm than good by not announcing it right away. And you know, they lost their lawsuit, but like I said, consumers are the ones that got screwed every time. That's a common trend. Consumers constantly getting screwed. I don't know. But, you know, there is positive news in the gaming world. You know, as we talk about the weekly recap and kind of the things that's been going on, I've been seeing some really good stuff. So if you guys have noticed, I've been streaming the last 4 or 5 streams, except for this afternoon. I've been playing some Mountain Blade. They just released their new update. I am working on a review, guys, which is really rare. I'm hoping I can get that out. I also have an interview I got to finish, so hopefully we'll get that out, and then we'll try to start getting a cadence of news, daily news out for you guys next week. I was very happy with the Paradox DLC video. It ended up being like 30 likes and 7 dislikes on it, which, you know, dislikes, I'm kind of like, would have liked to known if it was the music or if they were just Paradox fanboys that were pissed that the subject ever came up, or what knows, but you never know. So I just kind of wrote that off at that point, because if it was like music, because I did have somebody say it to me, that's friend, says music didn't quite go as well. I wanted to add a little bit of music to it, something just to kind of go through it, so it wasn't just dead air as we're talking. But you know, that's all growing pains as we kind of figure this out. But you know, overall I was very pleased with that video. I appreciated the support. It did very well. I mean, I was shocked it got 1,100. Now somebody may say, well, that's not a lot for a small channel with starting to cover news, and even news that's not like AAA or following the waves of everybody that covered the Xbox Game Pass and stuff early on. I think it did pretty good. I think it did fabulous, really. I mean, and I appreciate you guys that watched it, you know, through it and left comments or whatever. I really appreciate y'all. It really helped. And then Bladen says, why am I feeling that they support the hacker and the lawyer hired them wasn't serious? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So let's flip over here a little bit. Some positive news. I'm hoping Mountain Blade keeps up their momentum. I did see this. This is their new DLC they're working on. What scares me, though, is everything says work in process, but I think they do that just to cover their ass. But this is the new DLC that's coming to Mountain Blade, which will involve light ships, medium ships, and heavy ships, all with their own price. And as you can see, we'll be having lots of naval combat, which I really like the open water here, and like the fact you got your troops here on the ships. And then you got some bigger ships. Thought these are pretty cool. They have different style ships. So there's like your war galley. I think that was pretty cool. And then you have like I think this is a trade ship. No, this is a warship too. That one, this one. This one's a light ship. And then they have some different ones here. I think these are pretty cool. I think this one here was my favorite ship that I saw. Really, really cool. I really did like this. I like these designs. And then they're talking about their ship customization, so upgrade slots, things like that. And you can mount a ballista for added range. And they can be fitted for battlement. You can add weight to the ship. You can add different things, like figureheads to that. And it's also based on the tides and wind. So if you go into the wind, yeah, you probably aren't going to be going as fast. So you probably get caught. But yeah, I think this was pretty cool. I really like what I see here. They're remaking the map to add wider rivers. So there will be even naval combat in the rivers, and you can block ports. So you can have sieges via Navy. I really like this idea. It's pretty cool. So my thoughts on 1.3. 1.3 wasn't bad, but it wasn't enough. The sneaking idea to infiltrate enemy bases and attacking, it got redundant because the maps got to be the same. I feel like there should have been more challenges, intrigue to it, but also something that you didn't have to do every time, which you really didn't have to. But I don't know. There was something repetitive that I just didn't like about that. But I do like the idea that if we could take something similar like that and add mechanics like Britannia for ambushing, since they're a nation that lives in the forest and seem to be more centered about ambushes and stuff. They get destroyed in Mount & Blade all the time because their units aren't as strong, but you could buff them all. Problem is, though, then you have some imbalances. But I think if they added stuff like ambushing, like Total War has, and certain mechanics that they play to like either vanish on the map or something during the time they're fighting, just something would be better. And thank you for the likes. I really appreciate that. And so there's something I think that could be said with the progress on it. I do hope that Terra Worlds continues to work on this game. This game has been a great gem over the years, but I feel like there's still so much more they could do. And I hope that this here is done soon enough, done well, and then they stay focused on it. That's something I want to see. And I consider Tale Worlds not a AA or a AAA. I consider them more indie too. As slow as their progress is on getting stuff done, I don't think it's a very big company. And it was originally supposed to come out this year. I'm skeptical it's going to come out. So we'll see how that goes on that. But stay tuned on that. Now, another company that's indie that I've really came to really like, Soul Mask, and we're going to be doing some Soul Mask again. Soul Mask is Shifting Sands DLC. They released a trailer. I felt like I wanted to play the whole Yu-Gi-Oh intro if YouTube didn't like scream at you for copyright and all that. Even for like 20 seconds of it, I would make the joke. But essentially, they have a new trailer and they are exiting early access at the end of Q1. So Q4, expect Soul Mask 1.0 and the DLC. So you get a flying ship, which is pretty badass. So you can build a base on an airship and you'll be able to travel basically from like the Amazon that we kind of had. Now we're shifting into focusing on old gods in Egypt, which I think is pretty damn cool. So I was reading more into Soul Mask. They want to focus on ancient civilization gods and stuff. So you could see a lot more different worlds, different cultures throughout the ages of history that they had. I mean, they have new masks coming out that's going to be Horus, Anubis, Amon-Ra, and Sobek, and they're also adding some new abilities that's going to change combat. Like I saw one in a trailer where it's like a force push, which I thought was really cool. So you can just throw them. Yeah, this is on YouTube. Let me see without sound. Let me make sure it doesn't have sound. Okay. So this is the trailer they have here. This is the new world. And as you can see, you get flung from Amazon into this Egyptian world. So there's going to be new people. There it is right there. So yes, you get to build your own airship and customize it. I think that looks badass. I really do. And so, you know, there'll be new like Egyptian style clothes and stuff. I think they have a good shot on this one here. So really like what they're seeing. But yeah, you can build your own ship now that can cross deserts, rivers, and skies. So you could basically build a fortress in the air on your airship. I think that's cool. And here's the fragments of it. Yeah, so this one here. So you see all these blocks? You can customize this, it looks like. This is kind of where it lands. you can expand to different stuff. And there, I was reading it. Yeah, you can have your people on this ship. You can have a town, a city on this ship, depending on how you build it. I was like, okay, this looks badass. I really, really like what I see here. Being able to travel. Then there we go. There's the one I was talking about where here's some new powers where you pick them up and you just throw everybody. It's like, and this is based on the power of these masks that are ingrained to you. So they're also increasing, they're doing more work on the AI for your NPCs, more survival management, tribal building. They're working on making it smarter, make it more specialized, allow them to train and learn from each other. I think this is really cool. Because Soul Mask is one of those underrated games that has not been marketed very well. And it's basically, in my opinion, in some ways, almost like Power World, but with humans. Because you're trying to find the best ones with the best abilities and stuff that you want for your empire. That whether it's for crafting or for war or companionship or for you to basically possess and take that body as your own. So then they have a picture here of Anubis with all these guys being summoned to fight. Yeah, the boss fights were fun in Soul Mask 2. I got to the third boss, beat it, which was a giant monkey, which I remember making a joke saying, let me guess, he's gonna pick this tree up and try to start beating me with it. And let's just say he picked up this giant tree and started swinging at me and throwing it at me. So it's like, oh, cool. There was a couple more we hadn't finished, but I'm really looking forward to this. This is a really, really good survival game. And I think it's even more fun if you find folks to help play it with and build, because it does scale with more people. So it's something I really want to see. And there's enemies can attack your base in Siege. And so I really like this. And there's dungeons you got to go through to get loot. And they want to keep developing this. So it's gonna feel more and more like a sci-fi mystery as it progresses. But your characters, the players are the ones with the masks that have the powers and stuff. So they're almost like quote unquote gods of this world kind of thing. But it's pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to this one. So you guys will definitely see me streaming this, and if I ever can get some folks, I might end up trying to do a collab with this. I kind of like this. I like this, that this is something you could do is lift up and fly. That looks badass. It really does. So this is Soul Mask. Next news we're going to talk about is Age of Wonders. It's one I did a couple streams of, but they have, this is another Paradox Interactive publisher. Triumph Studios is the one that handles it. This is the one I griped about the DLC bloat, but they're talking about how they are getting ready to add new content. So this is their new season 3 pass. So they have a new guy, and let me see what it is. Because I didn't know they had this one out. Okay, so this is something, this pack unlocks the Empire of the Cosmos trait that rewards the god ear which you play, who aspires to all affinities. So this is kind of cool. I am looking at this one, but of course it is a $50 season pass. So this is my gripe with this, but you get all these DLCs, which I'm hoping they're good. I really am. They are reworking a bunch of mechanics. They're also doing some type of nomadic nation. This one is heavily coming out that was based on vampires. So they have a lot of vampire themed nations. So we'll probably be touching more on this too at some point on stream, and we're looking at it. And Blazing says, we don't have much game as we used to be. Quantity is key, but you have to split into teams. Some good teams are good at platformers. Other teams are good at, yeah. I do agree with you on that. So they have this one's set to come out November 11th. My one gripe with Paradox right now is you have too many DLCs dropping the first 2 weeks of November. You're going to start overlapping, so people may not buy everything you're wanting to. I mean, that's $50 here, and let's just go with this one. Should be up already. All Under Heaven, which is coming out this last I knew, this was supposed to come out the first week of November. It looks like they don't have the official release date yet, but this is a huge one. This is one I've been waiting on, where this basically expands all of Asia, which is another strategy game, but it's a lot different because it's based on not necessarily your nation, but it's based on, we don't have very much to show on this, but it's based on who you are. So you could be a nobody that's a mercenary, you could be a trader, you could build your own company, you could be a lord that rises to emperor. There's a lot here. So this is supposedly their biggest undertaking that they have ever done in a Crusaders game. So I'm really hoping this does really well. They also, I was seeing things that they were focusing on historical, the Silk Road, which is cool. I think the first one, and some people are gonna say, I called it. I plan on playing this one when it comes out, or if I can somehow get early access for you guys to do videos. Yes, Japan is definitely really the first ones that I'm going to play, because this is an interesting time period for Japan before the Sengoku era. Very curious to see how this all will unfold. I really like what's going on here. Wish there was, they had all sorts of maps and stuff. Let me go here. Maybe they have it. So Crusader Kings has never released all of Asia. They had India and they had some of the steppes, but now doing what they're doing, they've pretty much opened everything. Let me see if I can find you guys a better picture. And also they apologized about coronations, which this one is the first time I've seen a really negative review with Crusader Kings 3. EU4, I've seen a lot of this, but they apologized, basically saying that their departments are stretched super thin because they were not, they basically had to rush this DLC out, and they didn't do a very good job at quality management. That's why it was garbage. Granted, it was a $5 DLC, but it was part of the season pass. People expected better of them. And they said problem is that they're focusing so much of their resources on Kingdom Under Heaven, which is their big DLC. Let's see if we have a good map of Asia here. There's a whole bunch of new mechanics. Let me see if we can find it real fast. They also added stuff like natural disasters. See if we can find you guys it. And they talk about different parts of the different things. Okay, let me see if this is it. This is all they're talking about, their plans. Like to see their damn map. Yeah, I think that's what Sun Paradox needs to do. If they're going to have more people or make bigger projects like this that consumes a lot of their time, I think they need more Q&A. I cannot find their map in here. My apologies, folks. It was kind of out of the scope of the news here, but I thought it was cool. I wanted to share that. But it has different eras. There's going to be so much stuff. I'm going to be probably the first day on stream, I'm going to be like trying to figure out how to make certain things work. Yeah, I don't see. There was a map, and this might be here, but I'm not seeing it load. But yeah, it's literally the known world by 867. So it's a huge undertaking, and I think it's going to be a stress on machines. Ramcross had me do a world conquest in Crusader Kings 3, which I never did, unfortunately, get to finish that. We'll have to do that again at some point. It lags really, really, really bad. And I don't mean that in the nicest way. I mean, it slows your machine down a lot. And that's what they were saying with Europa Universalis 5. Once you got to the 1600s, with so much stuff going on, the game goes to a crawl, which this one comes out November 4th. Excited to play that. We'll be doing this live when we come out. And this is the successor to the EU4, but they talk about standing armies, not just levies, composition. There's going to be different types of units. Naval warfare is going to be different. There's YouTube videos on that here, but they've also changed a lot as far as the religion. I'm looking forward to this game, guys. I really am. I'm looking forward to streaming it. I think there'll be a lot of content years to come. Of course, it's going to be expensive because EU4 was like, I think for everything now, it's like almost 180, 200, but that's 10 years worth of DLCs. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered all the news and kind of opinions I wanted to talk about with some stuff. I did not get a chance to talk to my lawyer friend to go over the Power World patents. I'm still trying to, because I think it would be a very interesting discussion. It's one of those things that I, got to protect my source, and we'll go through it, the notes, and then I'm going to have to put it on paper, and then we'll discuss it. And I'll basically be interpreting what he says, just like a, typical everyday journalist. I mean, that's kind of the goal with things. But appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you guys liked this layout, this content. This is something that I want to get back into doing with news. I think it's something that I hadn't done in a while, and it was something that I missed doing. I missed talking about. I missed the dialogues with you guys. Something that's fun. And I'm hoping as time grows, we'll see more people in the talk shows, and we'll see more chat rolling. That way we get a lot more discussion, because I really like that. And either way, I can talk for an hour and a half about stuff. It's not too much of a big deal. We are working on changing up music. You got a new intro, things like that. So yeah, I think we're in a good state. I'm going to continue to improve the show, continue to improve the content, continue to make sure that you guys get the best quality I can provide within financial means. Now, that said, we're not going to bed yet. Hey, Blazing, you ain't leaving here. What the hell? No. You ain't bailing. The show's not over. What the hell? If you bear with me a second, we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna switch over to my last stream of the night. Since we just finished our news, I've got to set it up for restream here. So it'll dump you all into the new stream. So bear with me a second as we get set up for that. And then we'll be ready to rock and roll. We're going to do Europa Universalis 4. So we're going to just chill, do some war, conquer Europe. It's going to be Muscovy again, but we're going to just have fun. We're going to see what we can do. We may form Russia. We may not. I've got some achievements there. So bear with me just a second. We'll swap that out. We'll proceed. So give me just a second here, folks. Let's get this other one made, and then I will send you all there. It's all good, Blazing. I'm glad to see you, man. I hope life's treating you well. I hope things have been going good. My house almost burned down Tuesday, which is so funny story. I'll share this while I'm getting this set up. Saturday, I had a nightmare. Mom came into my room and said, the water's boiling in your sump pump pit. And I said, what the hell? And I was like, what? So went down in the basement, and the hose for the sump pump went out, but it was also jammed. So the switch would not shut off. It was 40 years old. I didn't even know it was 40 years old. So, what ended up happening was we got a new ring for the hose, put it on, found it was jammed, and hey, Lucas, no, we're not ending. We're getting ready to go to the third and last stream. I'm setting it up right now so I can set it to restream. So, and we'll go from there. Just bear with me a second. So we went to go look at sump pumps, and it was ranging from $150 to $300. So we bought an aluminum one. And I was like, okay, maybe this will work. No, the water was lifting it up. And then as we discovered at the very bottom, what the guys had did 40 years ago is they took old carpet and shoved it against the sump pump, because the bottom of the pit is all sand and rock and some other crap. I have no idea what's in there. Didn't even want to know that how this house is almost 80 years old. So we set it up, thought it would be okay. Rocks and sand got on the line later on. Got rid of the aluminum. So we had to take that one back because aluminum wasn't working, and we got a cast iron. Well, we thought it was good. Tuesday, rocks got in the line, blocked the blade, was making the water hot, boiling the water. Luckily, we didn't burn the motor, so we had to get all the rocks out of the line. We had to rebuild the bottom of it by adding wire, some like a wire wall and flat rocks, so the water, the sand and all that crap wasn't disturbed, and we got it working. But I was thankful Mom was here so the house didn't burn down, because I was like, yeah, this is not what I wanted. As far as my surgery, I still have one incision that is not quite healing right, and it's almost healed, but there was this gap about maybe this big where they didn't suture it correctly, and the glue wore off, and there was about half an inch down inside my stomach. So I had to use some high industrial bandages on it and worked to slowly get it to seal up and kept it from getting infected. So now there's just a little bit left, but it's taken a little bit longer for healing. As far as headaches, anything like that, I'm doing really good. I don't really get as many headaches anymore. I get sinus headaches or I get stress headaches. Some tension headaches here and there, but overall, I'm feeling way better since the surgery. I'm very, very happy that I was able to survive. And I think, the support of my community that's been here as I went through it. And I'm also very thankful for the surgeons getting me through it, and I'm just overall really grateful that everybody has been absolutely amazing. And also wanted to say to you guys, thank you also for all your support. And also appreciate you guys supporting on the streams, being here, chatting, whatever. I'm really very grateful for that. Okay, this should redirect you guys. Once I end this stream, I will immediately be getting ready for the next stream, because we're going to go right from there, but I want to make sure we have it all set. So with that, I'm moving us over to the next stream. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you in about 2 minutes. Peace.